Have you ever stared at your trading account and wondered, how did I lose again? You followed your plan. You saw the setup. You even waited for the perfect moment. But somehow, your account still ends up smaller than before. And here's the harsh truth. It's not the market. It's not your strategy. It's one tiny mistake. One small thing that most traders never notice until it's too late. Let me ask you something. When you place a trade, are you really following your rules? Or are you letting your emotions sneak in through the back door? That's right. Even the tiniest emotional tweak can destroy your account faster than a hurricane destroys a beach. Think about it like this. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water, but there's a tiny hole at the bottom. You keep pouring, day after day, believing the bucket is getting fuller, but all the water just keeps leaking out. That hole, that tiny leak, is exactly what's happening in your trading. Now, I want you to really be honest with yourself. When you lose a trade, do you ever think, I'll just get it back with the next one? That right there, that innocent little thought, is a trap. It feels harmless, almost logical, but it's what I call the echo of loss. It whispers to your brain, go on, risk more. Take bigger trades. Maybe this one will fix everything. And it never does. Here's another way to picture it. Trading is like walking a tightrope over a pit of lava. One step off balance and you fall. That tiny misstep? It's usually not some big dramatic mistake. It's a flicker of impatience, a moment of greed, or that little voice saying, just this once, break the rules. I know it's tempting. That little voice is like a slick magician. It convinces you, whispers sweet lies, and suddenly you're making trades you promised yourself you wouldn't. Now, let me hit you with a tough question. How often do you review your losses? I mean, really review them. Not just glance and shrug. Most traders don't. They just move on. But the truth is, that tiny mistake, the one destroying your account, is hiding in those losses. It's sneaky, almost invisible, but it's there. And here's where most people go wrong. They think trading is about strategies, indicators, and charts. And don't get me wrong, those are important. But if your psychology is off, if that tiny mistake keeps creeping in, no strategy can save you. Let me tell you a story. There was a trader I knew, let's call him Alex. Alex was brilliant. He could read charts like a detective reads clues. But he had this habit. Whenever he was down 2 trades in a row, he would increase his lot size, thinking he could catch up. Guess what happened? His account evaporated faster than ice in the sun. Not because his strategy failed, but because of that tiny mistake, that one little crack in his discipline. And here's the kicker. Most traders don't even realize they're making this mistake. It's so small. It's so subtle. But the market is merciless. It doesn't care about your excuses, your hopes, or your plans. It punishes tiny errors with terrifying precision. So, here's the big question I want you to answer right now. Are you willing to find that tiny mistake before it destroys your account? Or are you going to keep letting it eat away at your profits, silently, every single day? Now, I know what you're thinking, but I'm careful, I follow the rules. And maybe you do. But let me be brutally honest. Following the rules doesn't matter if your mind isn't following you. Trading isn't just about charts. It's about controlling that tiny voice that whispers, just this once. Because that tiny voice is the one destroying your account. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine your trading account is a garden. Every trade you make is a seed. You water it, nurture it, and hope it grows. But that tiny mistake? It's like a hidden weed growing silently under the soil. No matter how much you water the garden, the weed spreads. And if you don't remove it, your beautiful garden, the profits, the growth, everything will be choked out. And now comes the part that most traders hate, awareness. The first step to fixing this tiny mistake is recognizing it. You need to be honest with yourself. And I mean really honest. No excuses. No blaming the market. No hoping the next trade will fix it. Just cold, hard self-reflection. Think about it like cleaning your room. You know that one corner where clutter keeps piling up? You ignore it. You sweep some dust here and there. But until you tackle that corner directly, the mess keeps growing. That corner is your tiny mistake. And cleaning it up is the only way to save your account. Now, here's a cliffhanger for you. Later in this video, I'm going to show you a simple technique that can instantly reveal the tiny mistake you've been making in your trading. And once you see it, you'll never trade the same way again. But first, we need to go deeper. Because here's something most traders never realize. That tiny mistake doesn't just cost money, it costs confidence. Every loss, every frustrating day in front of the screen, every what-if thought, it chips away at your mental armor. And once your confidence is gone, no strategy, no indicator, no chart can save you. So tell me, how many trades have you made recently that were just off? Not completely wrong, but not quite right? Those trades are your warning signs. They're your internal alarms going off. But here's the problem. Most traders ignore the alarms. And that's exactly why accounts die slowly, quietly, day after day. Here's the thing most traders never admit. That tiny mistake? It's usually not a huge blunder like betting my entire account or ignoring stop losses completely. It's way smaller, way sneaky. It's in the little choices you make every single trade without even realizing it. Let me ask you, how often do you enter a trade because it feels right, rather than because your plan says it's right? Be honest. And don't fool yourself with, I'm disciplined, I follow my rules. Because if you've ever whispered to yourself, just this once, you've already been seduced by this tiny mistake. Think of it like this. You're driving a car on a long highway. You're paying attention, following the signs, keeping your hands on the wheel. But then, just for a second, you glance at your phone. That split-second distraction could cause a crash. That tiny mistake, just 1 second of letting your mind wander, is all it takes to ruin everything. In trading, this split-second distraction often comes as impulse, a gut feeling, a whisper in your brain telling you, you deserve this trade. It's different. It's safe. But guess what? The market doesn't care about your gut feelings. It doesn't care about your deserve logic. And it certainly doesn't care about your confidence after 2 losses in a row. Here's a story. There was a trader, let's call her Lisa. Lisa had a strong strategy. She had rules. She had discipline. But there was one tiny habit she didn't notice. Every time she was frustrated or impatient, she would slightly increase her trade size. Just a little. Just enough to make up for the losses. It seemed harmless. It seemed smart. Until one day, a series of small missteps, each one tiny, almost invisible, blew her account apart. One day, gone. And Lisa? She didn't understand what happened. Because she didn't see that tiny mistake hiding in her behavior. Let me pause here and ask you something. Can you see that same pattern in yourself? Those small, almost invisible shifts in behavior that feel justified in the moment, but quietly destroy your account? Most traders don't see it. And the market doesn't forgive. Here's another analogy. Imagine a dam holding back a raging river. The dam looks solid, strong, unbreakable. But there's a tiny crack. Maybe you don't even notice it. Water starts seeping through, slowly. Day after day, the crack grows. And suddenly, the dam breaks. The flood comes. And everything you worked for is gone. That's exactly what this tiny mistake does in your trading. It's not one trade that kills you. It's the accumulation of little slips. Every time you ignore your plan, every time you justify a risky move, every time you think, just this once, you're widening the crack in your trading dam. And here's the worst part. This tiny mistake also feeds on your emotions. The more stressed, anxious, or frustrated you are, the more it sneaks in. It's like a parasite, growing stronger every time you give in. Let me ask you another tough question. How many times have you increased your lot size, taken a trade out of boredom, or stayed in a losing trade longer than you should? That's not bad luck. That's your tiny mistake in action. But here's where most traders go wrong. They only focus on strategies, indicators, or charts. They think if they get smarter about setups, this mistake will disappear. But that's like painting over rust on a ship. You can cover it up, but eventually it sinks. Now, here's the good news. Once you recognize this tiny mistake, you can control it. You can fix it. You can stop letting it destroy your account. And the best part? You don't need some complicated indicator or secret trading algorithm to do it. You just need awareness, discipline, and a simple technique that I'll reveal in a moment. Think of it like brushing your teeth. It seems small. It seems boring. But it prevents decay, cavities, and pain. That tiny daily habit saves you from huge problems down the line. Trading is the same. That tiny adjustment in your mindset, the awareness of this mistake, can protect your account from ruin. Here's a cliffhanger for you. In the next part, I'm going to reveal the exact method that top traders use to catch this tiny mistake before it costs them a single cent. It's simple. It's practical. And once you start using it, you'll wonder why you didn't see it earlier. But before I show you that, let me ask you one more question. Are you ready to look in the mirror and be honest about your trading habits? Are you ready to admit that tiny mistakes, not the market, have been stealing your profits all along? Because without that honesty, nothing else will work. Alright, it's time to get real. You've seen the problem. You've felt the frustration. You've recognized that tiny mistake, the one quietly eating your profits, one trade at a time. Now it's time for the solution. Here's the truth. Top traders don't just rely on strategy or indicators. They rely on self-awareness and microdiscipline. And the simplest way to catch this tiny mistake is through a method I call the Trade Diary Audit. Yes, a diary. Sounds boring, right? But let me explain why it works. Every trade you take, win or lose, you write down exactly why you took it. Not just the technical setup, but your emotional state. Were you impatient? Frustrated? Trying to catch up? Be brutally honest with yourself. The first time you do this, you might think it's overkill. But after a few weeks, patterns emerge. Patterns you didn't even realize were there. And guess what? Those patterns are the tiny mistakes hiding in your trading. Think of it like a detective investigating a crime scene. Every detail matters, even the smallest clue. The clue might be as tiny as a slight impatience, a whisper of greed, or a momentary lapse in discipline. But once you see it, you can stop it. You can prevent the next disaster before it even starts. Here's a real-life example. There was a trader named Mike. Mike was frustrated with losing streaks. He started keeping a trade diary, noting his emotional state for every trade. After 2 weeks, he noticed something shocking. Every time he was hungry or tired, he slightly increased his risk. That small, almost invisible change was causing half of his losses. Once he identified it, he adjusted his routine. He didn't trade when tired or hungry. Within a month, his performance improved dramatically. And here's a key point. The diary isn't just about recording mistakes. It's about creating awareness. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see the cracks, the holes, and the leaks that have been silently destroying your trading. Now, here's another micro-hook for you. Once you start this, you'll begin to notice patterns in real time. That little voice saying, "Just this once?" You'll recognize it immediately. That twitch of impatience? You'll see it before it becomes a trade you regret. Step 2 of this method is setting strict personal rules. And I don't mean generic rules like always use a stop-loss. I mean very specific rules that address your tiny mistake. For example, if you lose 2 trades in a row, reduce your lot size by 50%. If you feel anxious, take a 10-minute break before entering a trade. Never override your plan to catch up. Sounds simple, right? But simple is powerful. Remember the bucket with the tiny hole? Filling it with water isn't enough. You need to plug the hole. These rules are your plugs. They stop the tiny mistakes from leaking money out of your account. Step 3 is review and refine weekly. Every week, go back to your diary. Look for patterns. Celebrate the trades you executed perfectly. Identify the trades where that tiny mistake crept in. Adjust your rules if necessary. The process is ongoing. Trading isn't static. You're always evolving. And with every week, your ability to spot and eliminate that tiny mistake grows stronger. Here's an analogy you'll love. Think of your trading like a video game. Each trade is a level. That tiny mistake? It's a hidden trap or enemy you don't see at first. But once you know it's there, you can avoid it. You can master the level. And with each mastered level, your account grows, your confidence grows, and trading becomes less stressful and more predictable. Now, I want you to reflect for a moment. Imagine trading without that tiny mistake. No more creeping losses. No more emotional trades. No more watching your account slowly shrink for no apparent reason. How would that feel? Freedom? Control? Confidence? That's the power of awareness and discipline. And here's the final cliffhanger. Even after you catch and control this tiny mistake, the market will still challenge you. There will still be tough trades. But now, instead of being a victim, you become the master of your mind. And that, my friend, is the difference between a trader who struggles and a trader who succeeds. So here's your challenge. Start today. Open a trade diary. Be brutally honest. Set your rules. Review weekly. And watch as the tiny mistake that's been destroying your account slowly disappears. And before you go, I want you to do 3 things for me. Like this video if you've ever felt frustrated by losses you couldn't explain. Comment below one tiny mistake you think might be affecting your trades. Share it. It's the first step to fixing it. Subscribe so you never miss strategies, tips, and psychological hacks that actually protect your trading account. Remember, the tiniest mistake can destroy an account, but the tiniest awareness can save it. Don't let invisible leaks ruin your hard work. Take control. Start today. Your future self will thank you.